Awesome, cool. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yes, we can see it.
All right. Sorry, I seem to be having some technical difficulties here. Okay, I think we're good now. Sorry, I thought my computer just died. But hi everyone. My name is Mayank. Let me get started since I am a little bit late. But wanted to start this off by just telling you guys a little bit about myself and what we do and what my company does. Right. So my name is Mayank. I'm the CTO / co-founder at Slingshot. A little bit about me. I completed my bachelor's in computer science from CMU, Carnegie Mellon, actually doing an accelerated master's right now. Worked at a bunch of places all the way from big tech to tech consulting to proprietary trading. So super happy to answer any questions about that. If you guys have any, feel free to hit me up. Some of my research interests are interpretable machine learning and robotics. That's actually what my thesis is in right now. So also happy to talk about all things machine learning. I know that's a really hot topic right now. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. But a little bit about what we do, right, at Slingshot. So at Slingshot, essentially, we've recognized that you guys, high schoolers, are getting smarter and smarter like every day. And for some reason, no one seems to be recognizing this. But I'm just here to tell you that we do, right? And we got you. So what does Slingshot do? We're the world's premier and first program really for all high school engineers, hackers, and hustlers, right? So what that means is essentially we scout and identify the world's top high school tech talent, right? And offer them internships, offer people like you internships at places, at startups that come out of places like Y Combinator, Techstars, CMU, MIT, and Stanford, all some of the top startup ecosystems in the world, essentially. So this is a really nice meme that someone from our community, our Discord server made, and this is what I like to show to everyone, right? So in a nutshell, it tells you exactly what we do, right? Instead of going and paying fucking $5,000 for a summer program or a boot camp, essentially, what we're trying to do is like flip the model on its head, right? We recognize that you guys, high schoolers, have the skills, right? Instead, we're going to give you the opportunities, allow you to actually make $5,000 while working, right? And incentivize you to actually like learn while making money. So hopefully that clears up what Slingshot does. I promise this is the last slide about Slingshot. After that, we're going to jump into more things that you probably want to know about, right? But essentially, we work with kids from across the world. We work with startups from across the world, make sure that our startups are some of the top startups in the world, really doing cutting edge work. So our kids really get to work on some of the coolest things that are happening. And that's really why we've been getting all the support recently. So yeah, hopefully that clears up what Slingshot is. If you guys think this is interesting, please check out our website, slingshotahead.com. Please join our Discord as well. I'm going to share the link later. It's also on our website. But with that, Slingshot is done, right? This talk is not about Slingshot, right? It's about you guys, right? So essentially, what I've done for this talk, what I try to do for these talks is I've taken the top questions that I always get when I talk to high schoolers, right? Sort of synthesized them and taken the ones that are the most widely appealing, apply to the most number of people. And all we're going to do is go through each question. I'm going to answer them and hopefully give you guys some insight and help you out, right? So, oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong way. Yeah, so the first part is just let's talk a little bit about what the life of a CS major looks like, right? I know you guys are in high school, so probably a little bit mysterious. What does a CS major do? Do they code all day? Like, do they go to hackathons all day? What is it like, right? So, well, one question that we get usually from high schoolers a lot is that, man, computer science is hard, right? Computer science is already so hard, and I'm just in high school, right? 4 more years of this, I'm kind of scared, right? Like, how do you stay motivated? And what we do at Slingshot is we've sort of taken that one up. We say that life is hard, right? Because now we're out of college, things haven't gotten any easier, right? Things are always hard. So this is usually where I would have liked to show you a really cool, like big budget video that would inspire you. But because we're a startup, right? We don't have that kind of money. So instead, what we like to do is show you this video. I really like this video. So I want to take a minute to just watch this. Can you guys hear the sound or?
No,
No, we can't. Right now.
Oh no, then oh no, that's not great. I think I have to stop sharing and start sharing again with sound, I believe. There's no point of watching Kobe Bryant's video without being able to hear it.
I believe in the main meet window after you start sharing, there might be a toggle for sharing sound, but I'm not sure.
Interesting. Okay. Let me try to present again. And all right. I think this should hopefully work. Sorry about this, guys. It would be really sad if you just watched the video without sound. Okay, let's see if this works. All right, this should share audio. Can you guys see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. All right, I believe this should work.
Yep.
Can you guys hear it?
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Better dream. Better wake. Better stretch. Better walk. Better talk. Better walking, talking the talk. Better blockers, better spreader, better loser, better winner. Just be better. Do this shit up right. Better form. Focus. Better friend. Better fighter. Better rider. Better eater. Better leader. Better generation. Better nation. Just be better. Let's go. Better player. Better shooter. Better scorer. Better go. Better coach. Better mentor. Better mind. Major. Movement. Shaker. Better skater. Better artist.
Sorry. Did
If
someone
you
say
mute
something?
yourself, I think it won't echo. Since the presentation will be like a separate.
Better teacher, better preacher, better believer, better first, better future, better hero. Again, better hero, better mother, yeah, better father, better father, better father, better father, better father, better me, better you, better us. Mamba out. Better. Forever.
All right. Yeah, both me and my co-founder are just like die-hard fans of Kobe Bryant, which is why we make everyone we meet watch this. So sorry if you guys didn't like it, and sorry about the technical difficulties. I know it kind of ruins the impact a little bit, but hopefully this inspires you guys a little bit, because it sure as hell inspires us every day. Right? Wanted to talk a little bit about what our main takeaways from this is, what I want, like what I tell people that they should take away when they watch this video, right? And the biggest thing is like finding what you love. It's really important. Like if you want to be able to stay motivated in the long term, loving what you're doing is really the only way, right? Otherwise, maybe you can work 9 to 5, make yourself do that, but like if you truly want to make an impact on the world and work and go put in the hard work that comes along with that, finding what you love is really just key. The second thing that goes hand in hand with that is practice thinking long term, right? They don't talk about this in the video, but a big part of the Mamba mentality is really not letting short term pitfalls stop you, right? Like, look at me, when I started Slingshot a year ago, right? Like we were a Discord server with like 10 people in it, right? If we'd let the shortcomings then stop us, like the daily challenges stop us, we wouldn't be here talking to you guys right now, having grown to like thousands of people, right? There's like only when you focus on the long term can you like sort of let go of all the daily struggles and like all the daily difficulties essentially, and that's another important thing I think that people should take away from here. And the third thing which I've put in here is staying healthy, eating well, and sleeping well, because I've noticed when people find what they love and practice thinking long term, right, they start putting in an insane amount of work hours because they're just happy doing what they love, right? And health tends to take a backseat, and you're not working when you're dead, right? So staying healthy and eating well and sleeping well is super important as well. So I've put that in there. But moving on from more of platitude inspirational things, right? I want to talk a little bit more about like what the life of a CS major really is like, right? So one big question that we get is, what does a computer science major entail in college, right? And the answer is the core of computer science. Computer science is huge, right? It's one of the biggest domains in the world, but the core is two main things, right? Theory and systems. So what theory is the furthest from what people usually think of when they think of computer science, right? Programming basics, sure, but like all of theory otherwise is just like math, right? Algorithms, data structures, probability, right? Binary search trees, things like that. Like not really coding, right? Coding is just a means to an end when it comes to computer science theory, and that's something that's usually very shocking to people when they go into university to study computer science, because they're used to just making web apps. Like if you know React, computer science. That's what I used to think when I was in high school, right? So that's one big part of computer science that a lot of people don't even realize exists, right? And the other big part of computer science is systems, right? And this is a little bit more aligned with what we usually think of when we think of computer science, right? Like just sitting with a hoodie on late at night coding, right? Systems, that's what that is, right? Knowing how a computer actually works, writing Linux kernels, right? Really writing the software that makes your computer like tick, right? That's systems, and that's very much lower level than like Python or JavaScript is the simplest way I can put for what systems is essentially. But these are the two like cornerstones of what a computer science major is. But like I said, it's a huge domain, so there's so many different paths you can take in computer science. So there's AI, machine learning, computational biology. Some people do computer science and don't write a single line of code, just pure math and theory, right? Quantum computing, web, mobile development. There's just so many different paths essentially. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that can be done when you do a computer science major. The second or the third now big question that we get is, what does it take to get into a great computer science school, right? And unfortunately, the answer to this is there really is no secret ingredient, and it's really annoying to hear that. It was for me when I was in high school 4 years ago, right? But which is why I'm going to talk about like what are some of the things that can help. But first, I want to talk about what are some of the things that people think can help but really don't help, right? So when I was in high school, I thought that like if I overloaded myself with extracurriculars, right, like, oh, I'll swim and I'll play chess and I'll play badminton and I'll be the captain of the debate team, right? I'm going to get into like some of the top colleges, right? That's just not how it works. It's like it's really all about like authenticity rather than like just showing on paper that hey, I can do a bunch of things, right? Like college admissions counselors are like freakishly good at just like cutting through all that BS and just trying to understand who you really are. So the biggest thing that I think helped me get into CMU and helps people get into some of the top colleges is just being authentic. And while being authentic, if you're able to like truly take out examples from your life, like real examples, not manufactured examples, and show things like the fact that you can problem solve, that you have leadership capabilities, and because this is computer science specific, you're good at math, right? Math is really important for computer science. Those are the things that really help you, right? But doing all of this with this lens of being authentic, that's really my 2 cents, and that's what I think really helps people get in, rather than just like writing essays with big words in them and just trying to say that you're trying to like just change the world. Everyone says that, right? But yeah, another question that we also get a lot is how do I become a pro hacker, right? And I'm sure this is something you guys really feel because you're at a hackathon, right? And the biggest thing that I can tell here is to like I like to visualize it using this graphic, right? There's really 2 trains of thoughts when it comes to like hacking or building a new product, right? One is that, oh, I want to build a car, so I'm going to like to make sure it's like the best car there is, to make sure it's like a BMW, I'm going to like make sure the tire is the best, I'm going to make sure the axle is the best, I'm going to make sure the chassis is the best, and then I'm going to make the car, right? The second approach is, oh, I'm going to first skateboard, then I'm going to make a bike, then I'm going to make a motorbike, then I try to make the car, right? And what I've observed in my experience is when you're trying to hack, when you're trying to quickly get out a product, B is what helps, right? And the reason is because at every stage of the process in B, you have something you can ship, right? And there's this really famous saying that like, if you're not embarrassed of your product when you first ship it, you're shipping it too late, right? Like every time you publish something on GitHub or you deploy a live project, right, you should always be embarrassed of it. If you've waited so long that you think it's perfect, you're definitely too late, right? And that's what B really tries to get across, that really just make things that work, shove them out, get feedback from people, and then iterate on it essentially. Going off of that, people are like, all right, I know how to hack now, but I want to make a cool project, right? Like, what should I make? And people are usually just like going to Google and searching, oh, what's a cool project to make, and making a project there, right? And that, again, is something I really try to tell people not to do, right? These are the 4 things that I think of when I'm trying to approach a project, if I'm trying to make a project at a hackathon or trying to make a project for more longer term, just building a product, right? And if you look at these things, none of these things actually involve coding, right? Like first verifying that what you're building actually solves a problem, right? Like you building a to-do list app, right, is not a project. It's learning, sure, and if you could classify it as learning, that's great. But a lot of people make a to-do list app and they think, oh, I'm making really cool projects, I'm contributing to open source or whatever. But like that's not how it works. Like the project again is not the end goal. The end goal is solving a problem, right? So verifying that it's actually a problem, asking a ton of questions to really understand the problem first, researching the problem, and then talking to users before you even actually have a project, right? So in the case of a hackathon, right, like what I like to do when I'm trying to do a hackathon is if I come up with an idea, before I start making it, I try to like actually do user research on the idea, right? Before I actually have anything I can hand out to people to try it out. I'm just gonna go up to people, pitch them my idea, maybe make like a quick little mock-up and see what they think, and get their like true, honest insights. And only after you've done all of this and you think there's a reasonable like something there that someone would actually want to use your project other than like your family, right? That's when like I start building a project, and that's when I've seen successful projects come out of, right? So those are the things that I would say people should really keep in mind when if you want to build a cool project and not just build something to learn. That's a whole different ballgame. With that, the life of a CS major section sort of is concluded here, right? Also wanted to spend some time and touch upon industry and entrepreneurship because I'm running a startup. I've worked in industry a lot, so wanted to give you some insights that I have from industry because we get a lot of questions about this as well, right? So the one major question I get is not really why work at a startup. It's usually, should I work at a startup or should I work at like a big tech company? Like if Google gave me an offer and some random startup in the Bay Area give me an offer, like what should I choose, right? And there is no right answer, but I wanted to touch upon like sort of the pros and cons here, right? And that's really all I can tell you, and then everyone has to make their own decisions. But for startups, it's really high risk, high reward, as you might imagine, right? Like if you were the first engineer at Airbnb, you'd probably be a millionaire right now. But if you were the first engineer at this startup called Telling.ai, which you guys don't know about because it failed, right? You would probably not be a millionaire, right? So high risk, high reward. If your startup becomes a unicorn, you're really just set for life, like literally. But if it doesn't, then it's really hard also. But other than the risk, startup culture is just super, super fast paced, right? Like there is no such thing as just a software engineer at a startup. Like if you're a software engineer at a startup, you're also doing sales, you're also doing operations, you're also talking to customers. There's like you learn a lot more because you're wearing multiple hats, right? So there's huge growth potential. I covered all of those 3 points in one sentence, but hopefully that makes sense. Like it's very fast paced, a lot of work, right? And a lot of growth potential, essentially. At big tech, it's kind of really the opposite. There's very low risk. If you work at Apple or Facebook, they're not going anywhere, right? Like I think Facebook should be shut down, but they're still not going anywhere, right? There's very low risk, and because of that, the reward is a little bit lower. It's definitely there is a big reward. If you work at Apple, you make $150,000 a year. That's a lot of money, right? There is a decent reward, and it's a guaranteed reward. So there is a moderate reward, but you're not going to be a millionaire because like the company is already big, so there's like a little bit less growth potential, right? And in terms of work style, usually these big companies are a little bit slower, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it, right? Because like a single button change on in Microsoft, and I worked on Microsoft Office, right? So if you use Word, Excel, PowerPoint, I worked on that stuff, right? And I made a change to a button, and that took 3 weeks, right? Because the change in lines of code was like 10 lines of code, right? But it first has to like be peer reviewed. It then has to go through all the testing automations. It then has to go through first different circles of testing. So the first get tested in my team, then get tested in like my division, then maybe all of Microsoft will test it on, only then it'll actually go out to users, right? So you kind of get the idea about how slow things are, right? Because millions and millions of people are using it. So like the change that I made to the button is now live. It just took a month to get there, right? The other thing usually is that in a big tech company, you're usually the small fish in a big pond because there's like hundreds of other software engineers, right? So if you don't show up to work one day, like Microsoft isn't shutting down, right? That kind of thing. So that's another consideration that people have. Some people really like that. Some people are like, nah, I would rather like be more stressed but have more responsibility. But yeah, those are the pros and cons. Usually everyone makes decisions based on their risk tolerances, right? The other important question is, what does entrepreneurship look like, right? Today, the startup world is booming. A lot of people want to start their own startups. I believe having started my own startup, I have some authority to talk about what entrepreneurship looks like. If there's one thing we've learned doing a startup, right, and doing a tech startup, is that it's not about the tech, right? As I've tried to put it in here, like kind of on the nose, right? But it's really not about the tech. Like Facebook isn't Facebook because their tech was amazing when they first started. No, it did well because there was a very, very real problem they were trying to solve. The customer experience they were offering was so much better than anything else out there at the time, right? They talked to their users, they understood their concerns, and they implemented them, right? And their team was good. There was good leadership. So those are the things that really make a startup succeed. Tech is important, right? Like if you don't have tech, then tech startup's not going to work. But tech is almost always secondary. Like you can hire someone to make your tech for you, or you can learn tech. But like if you're starting off with the wrong problem or the wrong experience, no amount of like algorithms is gonna make your startup work, essentially, if no one wants to use what you're building, essentially. So the biggest takeaway essentially is like focus on the users again, and not just think about the tech. And with that, I wrap up my big rant. Hopefully you guys took something away from this. Hopefully there were some insights that were helpful, right? Wanted to also talk a little bit about what our prizes are, and this is again coming back to Slingshot. So what we're offering to you guys is, for the first, second, and third places in the hackathon, we're offering admission into the final round of matching. So our interview process is very rigorous. There's 4 different stages. And after that is when you start getting matched to startups, because we really take the top tech talent, high school tech talent, like I said, and match them to real startups, right? So, but we've seen the kind of talent that you guys have at this hackathon. So we're offering direct admission into the final round for the top 3 places. But yeah, with that, I end my talk, right? I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes if any of you have any questions. Super happy to chat. And otherwise, please, even if you don't have any questions right now, please join our Discord. There's always stuff happening there, and I'm always around. My co-founder is always around. So if you ever have any questions, that's probably the best place to hit me up. I can also take this link and send it in the chat really quickly, so that so you guys can copy paste it. But yeah, with that, I'm going to stop sharing. Happy to answer any questions that you guys might have at all. Let me also throw this in the chat really quickly. There we go. Oh, I just saw the chat. Rip Kobe, indeed. I'm 20 minutes late, but yeah.
Are you like openly accepting interns right now, or do you have like rounds where it's like you take in these people, next round you take in like some other people? Like, can you tell us about kind of like your process and how you like accept interns?
100%. Yeah, so that's a great question. And the answer is yes, we are actively taking interns right now. We used to do this in a sort of cohort sense, right, where we would have an application and a deadline, and then we would run the process. But we're actually moving more towards doing this year round because we've seen both demand and supply of internships be year round. Year round. So we're actually releasing our platform on July 1st, 5 days from now, where anyone can come in, sign up, right? And once they sign up, they'll be able to see startups in our portfolio at that given time and get started in our sort of vetting pipeline. And once they get vetted, actually start applying to these startups and start getting matched essentially. And talking a little bit about what the process looks like, right? So essentially the process is we've derived it heavily from like what the current tech interview process looks like for graduates, right? Because both me and my co-founder have given hundreds of tech interviews. So very similar to that, there's algorithmic questions that we ask to test whether you can problem solve. We give you guys a take home to sort of see whether you can learn new things and sort of create a well architectured project and submit it. And sort of we look at your resume, we ask you to submit a few videos so we can get to know you a little bit better. Maybe go on call with you sometimes if you want additional information. Essentially, try to just to get to know you a little bit better and just make sure that you'll succeed in the startup environment, that you have both the right attitude and the skills that you need to be able to actually add value, because they are real startups and they do work at a fast pace. So we want to make sure it's a good experience for everyone, essentially. But yeah. Sure.
One should go about like receiving harsh criticism and stuff like that?
Well, it's never easy, man. I'll tell you that, right? I've been on the receiving end of harsh criticism a lot,
Yeah.
but it's really just an attitude shift, I would say. When I was young, if someone told me like, "Hey, you're not doing this right," I would just be like, "Why?" Like try to argue, right? Just not be conducive. And then like there's this good saying or piece of advice that I always try to like stick to, right? Someone once told me that like the thing about pride is you just swallow that shit, right? Like if you're prideful, you're just not gonna be able to take advice. The biggest thing that helped me was just like not having too much pride, right? That doesn't mean that you just do whatever someone tells you. If someone gives you harsh criticism, right, like you're completely in the right to like take that and not act on it. Maybe you don't agree with it. That's happened a lot to me as well. But so it's just an attitude shift where you kind of like like disconnect your opinion of you from what they're saying about you essentially, and then that really helps you like take what they're saying and actually become better, because we all want to become better. If we're not becoming better, then what are we doing, right? So hopefully, I think that was a little too philosophical than
No,
what you
that
might
was
have
that was
asked for.
perfect.
But yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
no worries.
Any other questions?
Cool. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, wait, did someone else speak at the same time as me?
No, that was me. I said cool because I thought there weren't any
Oh,
questions.
okay. Yes. So my question is, as like a really young person, if you have an idea that you're really passionate about and you're pursuing, and in the past, like you've kind of like worked with other people to build on that idea and it's like fallen through, how do you know that the idea that you're pursuing is like worth it? And how do you know that it's something that could like really like do well in the future?
So this is like an idea as an idea for a company or an idea for a product. Is that just so I understand it correctly, or?
Yeah, like a product platform.
Right. So
Yeah, you're on the right track.
but the short answer is you don't, right? Like you can't see the future, right? Like there have been I know founders who've had ideas which had everything, right? Which had users, which had traction, which had growth potential, but they just died. It just didn't work in the real world, right? And I've seen ideas which I thought were just complete like batshit crazy, right? But they started working. So you really don't, you can't know. The things you can do are the four things that I put on the slides there as well, right? Like first, try to understand if it's a real problem. Are you just doing it for the sake of doing it? Secondly, like try to talk to the actual users, right? Or try to talk to the actual people for whom this problem would be solved, and just see if there's actually like value there, right? Like there's things to understand. Like if someone, what are the alternatives that currently exist, right? Like why would someone use your idea instead of what's already out there? And then there's metrics that people use, right? Like so currently what people say is that like your thing needs to be making someone's life like 10 times easier than the current alternative out there for it to be worth it for them to move because of all the inertia, right? And that's just one metric, right? That's not no golden standard, but that's another thing to think about. Like, are you really making their lives easier like enough, or is it just like a marginal benefit where they might not care enough, right? That kind of thing. And then you kind of try to understand whether there's like real market potential there, because sometimes like an idea might solve a big problem, but like if no one's willing to pay for it, if you can't make money off of it, like it can't get super big. Sure, you could run a non-profit maybe, but if that's the goal, then that makes sense. So it depends on the goal as well. But yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit.
Thank you.
No worries. Cool. So if there's no other questions, I'll leave you guys to it. Yeah, feel free to hit me up on Discord. Ever, hopefully, you kind of see I'm a chill guy. I just like helping people. That's the goal here. So happy to answer any questions you might have or help out in any way I can if you guys ever need it. Yeah, hope to catch you around. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, if there's no other questions, I think we can call it off.
Awesome. All right, guys.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. See you.
Bye.